takeover.com. You're on the road with Uncle Phil, baby. Um, Happy Monday, everybody. I had to jump online to talk about this. You know, everybody loved Bitcoin, right? That's where we started. Everybody was happy. Bitcoin, decentralized currency. Well, once you start something and see it's popular, everybody wants in. It's kind of like the King of New York, when he said, "Hey, if a nickel bag goes through Central Park, I want in." You know what I mean? And now the government, the pimps that they are, have decided that they want in. And now we have what is FedNow's services being offered. This rolled out about 3 days ago in the news, where they've released now the FedNow service that is going to change payment processing. That's done. And this is just the initial phase. Now, remember, folks, we were told a couple years ago that we would eventually own nothing. And it seems like the owning of nothing is already underway. The reason why I say this is that all the people who jumped on the Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies, you pretty much have laid the foundation, just like we're doing with AI, just like we're doing with Chat GPT. We lay the foundation for the things that we talk about, we fear about later. And everyone that thought Bitcoin was a great, investment, they jumped on. They saw the big interest. They saw how they could manipulate the markets with the price flux. How many people be made millionaires or selective millionaires with Bitcoin? Well, guess what? You shouldn't be surprised now that our government is going to decide to roll out its own version of digital currency, which is the form of the CBDC. C as in cat, B as in boy, D as in dog, C as in C. Now, if you haven't heard about this, you've either been living under a rock or you're too old to understand what digital currencies are. And offense is to be taken, because that means you haven't been paying attention. The old times are out and the new times are coming in. They said that when everybody was arguing with everyone over who was actually, vaccinated or not, or who would not take, certain things or not, and whether we thought the pandemic was actually a pandemic, don't matter. When we were all taking sides, arguing with our friends, telling we're not friends anymore, telling our family members that they're making everyone in jeopardy, even though now they're saying that pretty much that may not be the case. Well, guess what? Just like that, now we have Trump to focus on. And right under our noses, the Fed now has come up, where they're going to be releasing this, I believe, in July. It's going to go whole live. And they're encouraging banks everywhere to become part of the system. I'm going to talk a little bit about and give you the information from the Federal Reserve website. I notice a lot of people online, when they actually do IGs or Instagrams about what the Fed now is, no one takes the time to read from the actual sources, the government websites. They typically always give you like their angle, perspective, things like that. Well, on Ancestry Lands Live with Uncle Phil and on the road with Uncle Phil, we actually go to the source. We actually read for you, for all the people who don't like to read. And if people do like to read, we'll give you the website where you can go and look it up yourself. It is a good chance to be educated and enlightened, because I myself, as a nurse and also as a business owner, it does concern me to a sense that, again, we've already lived this fiat currency. If you don't know what fiat currency is, it's paper. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have any base value. The US dollar, every dollar bill we used to have and own, we used to be backed by gold or some form of something that was tangible, that you could see, taste, touch. That was a reason why the dollar became the world currency, or world's reserve currency, as most people, have come to. Or you might have heard about it today. Now, I understand. I am black, so it is kind of awkward that a black man has this type of knowledge, but this is what happens when you read. So again, folks, you can always donate to the show, $Ancestry Lands on Cash App and Ancestry Lands on Venmo. We do like donations to help to keep the show rolling, but let's get into it, because right now what's happening is we have all the fact checking websites. The media's always intel, nice guard dogs that they are, to make sure that we know that what they're saying about you will own nothing was actually, not true, because the fact checkers are in. We saw that with the Twitter files. We saw that with all the censorship going on. So the same plays are being played right now. The game's running. The only thing is, we're just hoping people are not seeing what's going on. We're kind of, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing right now. So this is coming out. But let's be objective, and let's look at what actually, this is all about. So I'm actually on federalreserve.gov, not .com, because you want to make sure that you are looking at the actual government website. And it says FedNow service will be available to depository institutions in the United States and will enable individuals and businesses to send instant payments through their depository institution accounts like banks, because they are asking that all banks jump on to this. The service is intended to be flexible, neutral, bullshit, platform that serves a broad variety of instant payments, right? Which is the same thing as most payments now. And I believe the difference in the instant payments is that even though you use something like maybe a pass through system such as Cash App or Venmo, it still takes a little bit of time for the money to move from your bank account to, Cash App or anything else. There is a delay. So this is instant. So the funds will be taken out right away, which also means, if you think about the connection again with the IRS saying that they were going to be tracking payments of over $600, well, and then they kind of didn't roll out the way they thought it would. Well, FedNow will kind of help with that because payments can be tracked digitally, as with all things. I mean, it's still the whole thing about it is still being done because your bank has digital records, they have your online statements. So, people really going to the ends of the earth over this. I think it's a little silly because your bank can simply supply records if you were being audited. So it's not like it can't be done. At the most fundamental level, and again, this is on the federalreserve.gov / payment system / FedNow underscore about.htm. You can actually go there. I love to read directly from the source so you can understand. I'm not going to read everything. I'm just going to try to get through the gist of what they're talking about. And then we'll have a little discussion about it. And again, this is stuff like, when you're talking to your husband, your wife, you're talking about things for the future, this is going to impact you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. The service will provide, again, let's go over that last part, flexible, neutral platform that supports a broad variety of instant payments. At the most fundamental level, the service will provide interbank clearing and settlement that enables funds to be transferred from an account of a sender to an account of a receiver in near real time and at any time, any day of the year. As well, if you're sending wires do take a couple days to process. Wires do have transfer fees of $20 to $25 to $30, $35. So, this does sound good if you're reading into it a little bit. Depository institutions and their service providers will be able to build on this fundamental capability to offer value add services to their customers, which means they can incentivize you to use this kind of service. The FedNow service will be designed to maintain uninterrupted 24/7, 365 processing with security features to support payment integrity and data security. Okay. Still smelling a little bit of bullshit in my... I took a shower this morning, so I know it's not me smelling like bullshit. But the service will provide a 24-hour business day each day of the week, including... Let me get this out of here. Sorry, someone's calling me. I'm getting a call right now on the live. It must be someone. They're like, oh, here go. The Fed 12 is already on me, folks. 12 is already on me. I'm getting a call right now during a live. You got to be kidding me. Including holidays. So this will basically be even during holiday. End of the day balances will be reported on the federal. Whoa. Let's listen to this one. End of day balances will be reported on Federal Reserve accounting records for each participating depository institution on each FedNow service business day. Now that is right there. What key? Let's read that again. End of day balances will be reported on Federal Reserve accounting records for each participating depository institution on each FedNow service business day. So that means that whatever's in your bank, they're going to know about it because it'll be reported on the Federal Reserve accounting records. So again, Federal Reserve accounting records, the shit says it right here. They have their own accounting records that are going to be recording your balances from your banking institution that now they have access to. Yeah, and we're going to get to the whole fact checkers or false checkers, so in a minute. Access to intraday credit will be provided to participants in the FedNow service during its business day under the same terms and conditions as other Federal Reserve services. Oof, boy, this is oof. The FedNOW service will provide liquidity management tools to support instant payment services. The tool will enable participants in the FedNow service to transfer funds from one to another to support liquidity needs related to payment activity in the FedNow services. The tool will also support participants in a private sector instant payment service backed by a joint account. Do you hear this? The tool will also support participants in a private sector instant payment service backed by a joint account at the Federal Reserve by enabling transfers between the master accounts of participants and a joint account. Who has the joint account? Like, what are they saying? They're going to act as an escrow? The release of the FedNow service will also include optional features, fraud prevention tools, the ability to join initially as receive only participants. Initially, request for payment compatibility, tool supports participants in their handling of payment inquiries. This is full on access, folks. The FedNow service will be released in phases. Of course, they're always releasing it in phases, just like they do with everything else, right? Now, again, you've seen this during 2021, and 2022 with these phases, that they've had things initiated out. And additional services and features and service enhancements will be introduced over time. I'm sure they are. The target release for Fed Reserve is May to July of this year, 2023. As development of the FedNow service progresses, additional details will be available through established Reserve Bank channels and more specific timing information for depository institutions. So here's my little thing about this. Not that I'm a skeptic or anything else like this, but again, joint account bothers me. Federal Reserve records, account records, they'll be attached to your institution, depository institution. Depository institution is a bank, any place that takes in deposits of monies or funds. A private sector instant payment service backed by a joint account at the Reserve Bank by initiating transfers between the master accounts of participants and a joint account. And a joint account, I'm kind of trying to figure out where that happens at. Also prevent fraud prevention tools. So again, my whole thing is that the government now has complete control over this. So again, they have the ability, who has control over access or shutting down accounts? That's one of my one question. So, again, if you don't know the central, and they've had Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, already talking about rolling out CBDC, which is basically a digital currency. Think of just like, trading in Bitcoin that you now can do with whatever they're going to call it, but it's a central bank digital currency. My whole thing is this. Our dollars used to be backed in gold. Well, just like the big rave with Bitcoin, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from these Bitcoin people, but again, I just want you to harp on the one issue I have about it. What is Bitcoin backed with? Like, what is Bitcoin compared to? And everyone told me it's a decentralized. They've just given me what spit out to them. And again, I'm going to go off in a number and say that I think maybe the central bank was behind Bitcoin all along to see if people could go for a digital currency. And once they have proof of concept, they're behind, because no one knows who's really behind Bitcoin. Realistically, it could be really the central banks behind it. I don't want to be a conspiracy person, but again, I'm going to go off and say that, what better way to roll out something by getting people hooked on your product? Just like, the biggest pimps in the world, what you do is you get somebody hooked on your product, like Bitcoin, and then you now move it into something that you can do for a global aspect like CBDC. This is why you probably have other countries trying to go into the BRIC system, because they may not be able to say what's going on, but the fact that the US is in so much debt, we've got so much going on with our money and inflation, that you need to create something like this in order to kind of keep the masses in control by offering them something, values that have nothing, that aren't backed by anything. Like, you have the CBDC, or you have this FedNow, which is going to make pretty much the infrastructure laid down to open a digital currency in the United States. But again, what is it going to be backed by? It's, at least our dollars today was backed by the military, without gold, the military strength of the United States. But again, How is this going to transfer into buying stuff in other countries? That's just something I see as a problem. How are you going to be able to go and transfer into a currency when other places may not be accepting the CBDC? In Florida, which I know I have people who live in Florida and they can't stand the governor there, Ron DeSantis. But again, he's pushing back against this because again, when you have a government centralized control over accounts, you no longer have any privacy rights. When you don't like, so you talk about cancel culture. This is going to be cancel culture. You're going to just lose everything in no time flat in a second. Your wealth could be gone if you have any wealth. And again, people can be made millionaires if they're chosen. There's no more you got to earn and work. You simply can be selected to be rich or poor. This creates a whole caste system that now is being designed by whom? And again, I want to know who are the people. This is one question: who is in control of this? What are the people that check or make sure that there's not an abuse of power? Because what this sounds like is you just get instant access to controlling everyone through their money. I think Texas is doing something to counter this too as well, where they're now on the fact checkers. So let's go to what the so-called fact checkers, USA Today. I'm going to pull them up because usatoday.com/story/news fact check. You can go in and just Google FedNow. If you type FedNow, just like you did with the pandemic, all the information we heard about lab leaks and everything else like that we now know are true. This is the same thing happening over again. We've got already tons of news companies doing fact checks about something that has not even been created yet and rolled out for them to tell you that it's false. Nothing to see here. My problem with the news media is that no one actually goes and does any investigation. You all are just paid to say what is true or not. Who are you to say no? And again, they're not telling me any possibilities. Can something be done? We never know who's behind it. We never know who's in control of it. What is there a department of this? The Federal Reserve is raising up interest rates. The Federal Reserve drop interest rates. We don't have control over. We don't have a say in that. But they're going to have records of everything. And they're urging banks to become involved. Why? Because you need the banks to go along with it in order to get access to our accounts. You don't think that the banks are going to be handing over those accounts? If your bank is participating in it, then they already by default will have your accounts. The digital part is just the first entryway to get the banks connected. And then they can offer up tons of things to make this appealing for you. You don't need, and they already told you before, they already told you a couple of years ago, you'll own nothing. The whole thing about telling people about something's coming is when you give them enough heads up, they're not as shocked. We already knew with 2020 that the American public, we're so into just being told what to do. We don't want to work. And with the youth nowadays, the entitlement, if you just pretend, and that's where the whole CCP, the Chinese Revolution starts to come into play. Because I'm going to kind of connect a few things together. When you have the Chinese Revolution where you tell younger people, hey, you're going to be promised or entitled these benefits. When you do that in the form of digital currency, you can control the whole youth against the people like myself that would argue back on why this is wrong. You can control them by giving them instant wealth, instant power. And you don't think these young people will do the same thing they did in China? When they turned on the older people, where millions and millions of people were persecuted and taken off the life equation, they were put into the anti-life equation. You don't think that's possible to happen? You don't think that would empower younger people? I mean, if you don't know if that's true, go back to 2021, 2019, 2021, and 2022 and tell me how did you have family members arguing with you over who or who did not go along with the pandemic and what you needed to do in order to go back into the workforce? You're telling me that you don't think that they can instantaneously give younger people wealth and say, here's what you got to do. Here's how you have to operate. I mean, most young people don't even want to be career professionals, they want to be TikTok stars. Well, you don't even need to do a TikTok now, or you can do a TikTok. We can automatically give you digital currency wealth to buy whatever you want. Again, where do you have to work for anything? You now can be controlled just by doing what you're told, right? So, of course, USA Today says our rating on, let's go through the claim. FedNow is a digital dollar that's a step towards digital currency, right? So here's USA Today, right? They're saying that tomorrow, the first week of April, the Federal Reserve begins a rollout of the new central bank digital currency, or US dollar, all right? The narrator says that's right. It's called FedNOW program. It's going to replace your paper currency. Not overnight, but it's moving in that direction. It was watched 5 million times in 3 days. Also shared 20,000 times on Facebook. And their rating, USA Today says it's false. Let's listen to why they're bullshit. I'm sorry, their explanation of why it's false. FedNow is a payment infrastructure created to enable instant payments. It is not a retail central bank digital currency. Didn't they just say that they were going to move towards that? Which the Federal Reserve says it can only create if a new law authorized it. Well, once you have this going out, in order to enable it to, a new law could just be passed in order for it to be authorized, correct? I mean, they're saying it's false because it hasn't happened yet. But that's just what they're saying right here does not mean it cannot happen. It is not a retail central bank digital currency, which the Federal Reserve says it could only create if a new law authorized it. Did a new law have to be authorized for vaccinations to be administered? I don't remember a law being created on that one. Let's dig further. And I know, again, nobody's going to watch this because it's not about Trump. It's not about the LSU and the UConn thing. And again, I know I could talk about those things. I can get views talking about, a white woman leading a black manosphere, the black community. I could talk about Trump. We could talk about all of that stuff that's meant to distract. We're going to stay right on what matters, because what I like doing is always going up to the hospital and telling people how I talked about stuff. And their whole thing is, oh, I never knew that. Well, you don't watch the podcast. That's why you don't know. And here's the thing. They're saying, oh, the service is aimed to make payments faster. Again, like a typical loudspeaker, USA Today, great job. FedNow is designed to enable participating financial institutions to provide secure instant payments. Is what we just read from the Fed. All they did was broke up the Federal Reserve site that I read. That's why I read it to you first, because you can go and see what these articles, when you go online and do a quick Google search, you're going to see it's false. It's right. When I Googled it, it was like literally the second thing that showed up in my feed was the fact checking right next to the article. I want to know about FedNow, and already in there already had fact checking right next to it to make sure I saw it right at the top. Great job, Google. Great job. Or Yahoo. Is FedNow service the next thing I just said here? Let me turn this around. Here's my computer right here. See, I see right here, FedNow service, and the next thing up here, fact check, right? Next thing right there is a fact check, just like clockwork. And that's why I wanted to read the FedNow service to you, because I want you to see how the news agencies go right back, and what do? They just chime up the message. That's all. They're saying that, oh, it's just to make payments instant between institutions, right? It is to make it instant, just payments instant between institutions. But what it also does is give them access to people's records. Immediate availability of funds could be essentially important for household managers for finances, paycheck to paycheck, or small businesses with cash flow constraints. Okay, so that's only on the receiving side, right? Having the capacity to manage money in real time could help households avoid costly late payment fees or free up working capital for small businesses to finance growth. Okay, yeah, that's it. I got you on that. That could be, but what percentages of the needs is this filling up? This just means that what, you don't get paid on Friday, you just get paid on Tuesday when they process the payments. FedNow does not replace physical dollars. It provides a backbone for instant payments services that look very similar to services like Venmo or Zelle. That looks so familiar, right? And does Venmo or Zelle freeze up payments, have daily limits, or limitations on withdrawal amounts? Because I know for a fact that my bank has limitations on withdrawals amount. I could have thousands and thousands of dollars in my account, but the bank also restricts how much I can pass through at any given time. They're trying to take the time lag out of the banking system. In a sense, we already use digital dollars since there aren't bills or gold sitting in your bank for every dollar there. I've already said that. A central bank digital currency is virtual money backed and issued by the central bank, which is not the U.S. government. The think tank counts the U.S. among 114 countries exploring the creation of a central bank digital currency. Huh. And President Joe Biden, gotta love him. Are you a freshman? Yeah, signed an executive order March 9, 2022 to promote the creation of digital assets, but since November, the Fed has not announced steps beyond technical feasibility, benefits, and downsides of a central bank digital currency, right? And that's what they're rolling out right now. Let's look it up here. Our fact-checking sources. Yeah, they've got the Fed Reserve Semi-Annual Monetary Report, Fed Reserve Board, which I just read off to you earlier. And the whole thing is, I want to ask people, what are your concerns about this? Because in China, they already have the social credit score where, everything you do, I believe in if you jaywalk across the street, you already get deductions taken out of your account. So again, if this is for immediate payment deposits, can you not also get money seized out of your account digitally? I mean, just think about it. Like, if you're going up, let's say maybe you wanted to be president in 2024, and the people in power kind of did not like, they didn't want you to be there. Can they not go, instead of going and maybe seizing, going and do a raid at your place at your home, like they've done tons of people, or at a at a golf resort in Florida, could they not, I don't know, maybe just go and seize money or freeze money or prevent you from getting access to money in your accounts? I mean, it's all centrally done. You don't have any legal proceedings now where you would sue your bank and you would go through these different layers legally. You would just not have any funds right at that point. I mean, that's crazy. And they're saying, well, this, and that's all they gave you. Is just because it's only two paragraphs on the Fed Reserve right now, they can only argue two or three main points. And the only thing they're arguing is that right now there's not a no, it's false because they haven't passed a law yet. Okay, when they do, then what happens there, USA Today? What happens when they do pass a law? Who wrote this article? Because I always like to see who writes their articles there. So you gotta look it up and see who the Nate Trella from USA Today, published on April 7th at 11:50 a.m. Right. And if you commit and you do anything, they're gonna know what you have, what you do, and they can just take money out of your accounts from there. I just want to know, you're short on something. Oh, you owe child support. No worries, it's coming out of your account first. Oh, you owe taxes. Good. The money's already gone. Can't move anything there. It's just gone. Instant payment, instantly too. Don't forget. So it's no longer a delay where you have to wait for a day or two for money to get pulled out. It's instantly in. If you can send it instantly, it can be taken out instantly, right? Whatever way you come in, the same way you can come out. So I'm asking people now, it just it begs a question of who's in control. And when they say we'll own nothing, again, if all our money is backed by nothing, like if I go and buy an apple, I can eat an actual apple. If someone wants that apple, they can buy an apple from me, and it actually is something physical that they're getting. But when you give me that's worth nothing, the value of it's worth nothing, then again, what happens? It brings me to this. I don't know if anybody ever watched Rick and Morty. I watch Rick and Morty. The episode where Rick, he reset, what is that? The Galactic Empire, whatever it was called. The controlling, when and it was one episode, he broke into their mainframe system and he reset it and set their dollar value to zero. And that just it was, that was a digital currency, right? And it was, well, a galactic digital currency. And when they reset it to zero, everyone was broke. Their money was worthless. And my whole point is that what is the money backed by? And again, if you can just give people instant wealth. You can just create instant millionaires just to get people to comply. And we'll probably see that happen. And I mean, again, what is the value of anything at that point when it's all digitally, can be digitally created? I mean, there are some. Let me be counter to my digital current artist argument. Is one, the one of the benefits of a digital currency is that, again, you don't have to carry large cash on you. That's obviously a thing. Getting robbed will be a whole different thing. But again, does it not open up to cyber hacking? We already have identity theft right now. What is it going to be when you actually have digital? If you're a millionaire in there, I mean, again, if the government gets hacked, what happens then? EMP goes down. Again, we're moving so further away from having real wealth, money backed by real things. I don't understand it. And again, it's what their selling points is not that it's secure, not that you'll have more privacy, not that you'll have more freedom, not that you'll have more independence. It's just it'll make things go faster. It's helpful for people who live in paycheck to paycheck. I don't live paycheck to paycheck, so why would I want it? If something takes 3 or 4 days to process, I've got time to wait. What do I need to move it for right now in a day or two? I mean, you can get a wire over in 2 3 days. I mean, if anyone needs a wire that soon, they're not in good in a good financial point. If you need a wire now, as opposed to you can't wait 2 to 3 days. What is your finances in that you need to close on something right now that you can't wait 2 to 3 days for funds to hit the account? And again, it's my whole point is that people live in paycheck to paycheck. This is again aimed at the lower rate the lower trough or the lower trough of society to get them roped in on a new version of government benefits. And again, where will that end up at? Before it was keep a man out of the house in the 60s and 70s, and the government will give you this. Now, daddy government's figured out a new way. If we give you this digital currency, well, you'll get a little bit more than what you were able to get. I mean, are we not reliving the 60s and the 70s now where they can figure out another way where you took the man out of the house. How do you get the woman out of the house now? How do you just, instead of destroying the family with the father only, mothers have done a good job or, a good enough job trying to raise some kids or now let's just destroy the whole, what's left of it. To now where we can just, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, we can just give them funds. You can just be a digital millionaire. And kids would know the wiser. How would we? We've already took the father out the homes, right? So we made the mom the only one person in the house. Then we saw that single moms are, the results of single moms and the hardships of not having a two-income household on one parent, right? Then you got men paying child support to help out and give alimony, in some cases lifetime alimony, for the woman who's working and now she's not at home raising the kids. So the next step is to get the mom out of the home and just get the kids. Now we just have babies and the kids go into the system, kind of like what is that? The Man of Steel with Krypton. They just had the babies, and basically the babies were just made by the government. All they did was just provide genetic material. So, and again, you think kids aren't going to like that? Why would they listen to us, parents or adults, when you could have the government telling them that they can just have instant amount of money? It's all about control, man. I didn't see anything in the Fed Reserve where this was going to give freedom to the individual. This was going to protect the citizen. This was going to give them some form of wealth. This was going to give them some security over what's happening now. This will not cause their dollars to inflate. All this is just a promise that money can be sent instantaneously. But everything I saw was more about accountability, records, recording, joint account, Fed Reserve account, private sector. We don't know who's the private sector. Who's controlling this? This will be ran. I didn't hear about anybody who was going to be monitoring this for abuse, for fraud, for anything else that could be malicious. None of that is going in. It's just trust and send your dollars. And I'm sure we'll have tons of people lining up. And my guess is we'll probably do this in California as a great test to show how this works. That'll be the perfect place to start this at. California. We've already done statewide vaccinations and mandated, and California is the last place to stop the mandates, emergency powers. Why not start there? I'm sure you're going to see that start there. Why not, right? Folks, y'all got to wake up, man. You got to wake up. You watch all these podcasts about people talking about other people, about nothing that matters. Nothing that is going to change your life, grow your wealth, Nothing's going to prepare you or keep you knowledgeable about what's happening. And again, the people around you are saying nothing, trying to enrich themselves. And you know what? All they're doing is making sure that they're just a little bit higher up when the water rises so they don't drown first, folks. And again, I'm going to stay right down here trying to tell you and call out the message. Tell you what's happening right now. Prepare yourself. How can you do that? Well, again, land does help. Owning land. Because it's a physical thing that you can have. Okay, it still rains from the sky. You can get water. Now you got to just save the water. You got to keep the water secure. What do you do with the water? Well, you can grow crops. Animals still live on the earth. Not every animal is locked up somewhere behind a government. You can still find chickens where people have chickens. You can still hatch an egg and make it into a chicken. You can still grow crops with land. You can still have people raise crops on your farm, on your land that they could farm on and actually share those crops with you for you owning the land. Barter system. When it hits the fan and you try to figure out, oh, what can I do when I gotta wait to get my money distributed because they tell me no or yes, or the government decides they're gonna take out more than in, who do you go and fight with when your paycheck's wrong? But you can still survive off land. Tell me something. Can you eat with a digital currency? And someone say, well, I can't eat land. No, but you can eat from what grows on the land. The animals can produce more animals from what you produce on the land. Can't do that with this digital currency. Hell, you can't even feed a horse $1. You can't even give a cow $1 to eat to make you more dollars. Time to wise up, folks. Time to think. Time to open your minds to what's really going on before you really do find yourself owning nothing. They already told you that when this really goes down, it's gonna happen on a Friday. When you know why? Because your banks will be closed. You can't do anything. I know banks will be open on Saturdays, but again, they're gonna be closed. Where's your money? Oh, you can't get your money. Don't spend money. They already told you how it's gonna play out. That's the thing. Part of eliminating a panic is telling everybody what's going to happen. That way, people aren't as tripped out. How are you going to protect your family? Where are the masculine men at that time? Where will your leaders be? No. You can be told everything you need to do on the news. Stay inside. Don't go out. Remember, they already practiced for that in 2020. Stay inside, folks. Don't go out. Remember? They already told you to do that. You already stayed inside. Remember? Scared to death. Scared to look. Scared to ask why. Let me put a napkin over my face. Even in the hospitals now, they did away with it. You don't got to wear you don't even got to wear the face napkins anymore. No more face diapers. And as soon as they did away with it, people took them off. Like everything was gone in a moment. No. See, that's what I'm talking about. No one cared after all of that. Once they were told it was okay, it all went away like it never happened. Right? Any which way, folks. You're on the road with Uncle Phil. Ancestrylands.com. Ancestrylands, folks, go out and go get yourself some property. We still have properties available. We still have about 40 properties left. No interest charges, no credit charges. Yeah, we're not accepting CBDC, at least not now. There's still time to get in. Get yourself something you can build, something that people will want. Phil Davis, you're on the road with Uncle Phil. Ancestry Lands, I'm signing out, folks. Take care. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. And keep your eyes on what matters. Stop listening to the noise. Get focused on what's really happening, folks. Phil Davis, I'm out. Peace.